And I would like to ask this village if you would like to join a world vote. If the whole world makes decisions together, would this village like to take part? Yes or no?
Democracy in its purest form. Every man and every woman with an equal voice. And I want to see if we can apply this on a worldwide scale. We're told democracy creates stability and raises living standards. So why not for everybody? But I really need to understand this democracy thing first. Does it even work on the national level? For this, I have picked a cross-section of countries from every region on the planet. And to start, I want to witness the birth of democracy. There are going to be the first elections ever in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The first vote after the bloodiest war since World War II and a long dictatorship.
I'm 31 years old. I've no experience of elections. Are you going to vote tomorrow? Tomorrow it will be my first time with the referendum. My first time. I have to choose either yes or no for the Constitution. This election for me is an event in my life.
First, we have to go to the Election Commission to get accredited as observers.
We are working in an electoral process, and we have to observe and be permanent and present.
The people in the street are desperately trying to get their hands on a document. And I realize that it's the new constitution that they're going to vote on tomorrow.
Some other people think it is not time for the referendum. We are going to watch and see what will happen about it. We know what is going to happen.
Simply by talking about the referendum in public, we get arrested. For the first time in my life, I feel what it's like not to have freedom of speech. And I am very scared. We are led away and our equipment gets confiscated. The camera's still running for a while, and then they turn it off. And then they put a machine gun to the head of one of our new friends from Koyeski. And he looks at me and says, "You know, they can't do anything that they haven't done to me before."
C'est bien emballé. The operation is now to begin.
Voting is in full swing when the first problems arise.
On devait te récupérer dans l'autre bureau, mais celui qui est là,
Many people can't find themselves in this new system.
Pourquoi on est responsable? On ne veut pas solutionner les problèmes des gens.
Oui, les gens ne se retrouvent pas dans les listes. Alors, il y a un bureau qui demande à l'autre bureau de les reprendre. L'autre bureau dit non, ils ne sont pas dans ma liste, je ne sais pas les reprendre. Alors, ça pose problème. Oui. Veuillez trouver une solution, s'il vous plaît. Referendum today had to begin at 6 sharp and to end at 5 o'clock in the evening. We don't know what is happening, and we are watching, we are looking at the Electoral Commission to tell when it is going to finish.
The Election Commission decides to extend voting into a second day.
These people, himself and all of them are not paid yet. The police are asking him for money, and his agents in the bureau are asking him for money.
À l'assistance que le scellé de l'urne sont en bon état avant de les...
Even with all the obstacles and all the difficulties and irregularities, the voting process, it comes to an end.
And that is good history for me. Good history.
This was by far not a perfect vote, but I understand now why people want it so much, because the lack of democracy is completely frightening. India. They say that they are the largest democracy in the world, but can everybody there really vote? I want to set this to the test. I see that there's going to be elections in Kashmir, right smack on the militarized line of control with Pakistan. 3 wars have been fought over this strip of land. Surely, they can't extend voting to this conflict zone.
I'm the chief electoral officer of the state, in the entire state, for Jammu and Kashmir. We have quite a long line of control with Pakistan. 18 polling stations are located at a distance of a half to 2 kilometers from the line of control.
This is sort of a militarized area, or?
Yes, we have an army presence. They are there to guard the borders. The people are expected to go and vote at those polling stations which are way near to the line of control. In the year 2002, we had a lot of unprovoked firing from across the border. So we had to shift some of the polling stations from the direct line of fire. But yes, it does cause confusion. People get scared, and not many people come outside and vote. So that's a problem.
There's a fear there.
Yeah, there's a fear, and people can get hit also.
It's hard to imagine that there's voting here. But I make my way straight to the polls. I am denied access. Again, I am denied access, and I am impressed with how well the secrecy of the vote is protected.
Allowing anybody to enter in the poll, because this is secrecy. You please come here.
So I head out of town and closer to the actual border with Pakistan.
Everything is going on peacefully. There's no, we have got our police force over here, but without the assistance of, without the help of these people, they are doing their work very normally. This is a democratic country. They know the democratic rule and regulation. All the people are qualified enough, so there is no any hitch. They know the rule and regulation of election.
I am finally allowed in. It's a completely electronic voting system with a control unit that activates the voting machine. Outside, the tension is rising. People are eager to vote, and they want to be let in. To my surprise, the democratic process in India is extended even to people living under the most extreme conditions. Right next door, you've got China. That's 1/5 of the world's population and the third largest economy on the planet. You have a voting system, yeah?
Yeah, for representatives,
Nationwide vote.
nationwide, yeah. But we may not, voting for, not everybody voting for president, but for people's representative, like congressmen.
Yeah, you can vote in China. For one party, though, that controls everything. I can see and feel the complete authority that the Communist Party has. People can't talk freely here.
After the Qin Empire, I think, and just the last 2,000 years, I think in China, no democracy.
Korea and Japan are famous for being the most wired societies on the planet. There's a huge degree of prosperity and stability here. Everybody has access to some wealth, healthcare, and education. And that, in return, is clearly linked to the established democratic institutions. The voting works like clockwork. But what jumps right into my face is that they're still using a paper ballot. Why?
They are afraid the government will change the result of the voting with electronic technology.
People think maybe is it safe or not?
Someone can hack the program.
They're worried.
The machines exist, but the most technologically advanced societies know how easily you can manipulate an electronic vote. And they refuse to go there. Iran. Since the Islamic Revolution 30 years ago, the country has been ruled by a supreme religious leader. What happens when religion and democracy mix? Our first stop is the holy city of Qom to talk to the religious authorities.
Okay.
Can everybody be a candidate for parliament?
The first condition, no, it's conditional. Not everybody can be. He should be Muslim, first of all. And second, he should respect everything according to the Quran. And then, if he is honest and he respects everything is written in the Quran, then he could be filtered by the high priests. When the high priests, they confirm him, then he can be part of the election. For me, the democracy comes from inside the religion, and the religion who accepts not democracy is not religion. The democracy should be under control of the religion.
What does that really mean for the people who live here? Most people will not talk in front of the camera. Finally, I do find a couple of people who will.
You're scared that they're going to kill you?
I also tried to talk to some election workers.
With foreign news or other to speak because they have problem for them.
Policemen observe everything on the streets. There is total paranoia. Even I feel the fear. The day of the vote. I have gone through a highly complex 2-month process to get all the proper permits in place. And they still won't let us in.
This permission is available only for the place we have to be, not any place more. We have a confirmation here, has been signed by the head of the office, but they didn't accept it.
Finally, they give us the permit to enter one single voting station. So let's have a look. You leave your fingerprint on a bar-coded receipt, so the voting process is not anonymous. You mark the ballot openly, so there is no secrecy at all. All of the candidates have already been picked by the religious authorities. And on top of all of this, the supreme leader, who is not elected, has the final say. There clearly is voting, but that does not mean that there's democracy.
The man, he was insulting England and Thatcher. He says, Thatcher, she is a bitch. And if anybody attacks you on our country, we're going to kill them.
Egypt is a big ally of the West, but it's been in a state of emergency for decades. Now I hear that the long-delayed elections will be held.
What is your personal history with democracy? What is it?
This one. An officer hit me with a metal stick. You understand the political situation by describing how the government deal with the people yesterday. They are very afraid.
Yesterday, there was a protest, and several people were shot by the government.
There was a demonstration and a strike yesterday in Mahalla. And the police firing the people, shooting the fire on the people. During these actions, 2 people have been died. 300 to 400 people have been taken from the streets. Have been arrested.
تم اعتقاله لمدة 21 يوم في سجن تورا.
He was arrested in Tora jail for 21 days. All the people in Egypt, if they arrested, they get this beaten and abuses. It's happened all the time.
Most of my friends have been tortured even by electricity, using this electro device, giving electric shock. And we have been arrested from homes. I have been taken from my home. I find that it's impossible to work in this environment.
It does look like the elections are going to go ahead tomorrow. I am completely surprised by the lack of people.
No votes. What time did you open?
At 7.
Oh, 7. And no vote? No.
What do you see the biggest problems in these elections?
Maybe there is no voters.
There's nobody here. No? No. We had one person.
How they banned all the independent candidates from this, especially Muslim Brotherhood.
They banned them.
Yeah, they banned them from presenting their candidacy for the election.
If there was a real democracy here, would there be a fundamentalist government?
Yeah, and that is a big problem.
Because a lot of people feel that if you do have an actual election, Muslim Brotherhood might win.
Yeah, but yeah, I think they might win.
Do you want there to be democracy in Egypt?
هل تريد أن يكون في ديمقراطية في مصر؟
أي حد مصري طبيعي بطبيعة الحال هو عايز يعيش في جو ديمقراطي لأن الجو الديمقراطي.
Do you want democracy for Egypt?
I think, yeah, I think.
الأفضل له وأنا أعتقد أن السبيل الوحيد لمعرفة الصح من الخطأ هو التجربة.
Yeah, I want democracy, but I will leave it.
It is so absurd. In Egypt, they're trying to repress the fundamentalists. And in Iran, the religious authorities are trying to stay in control. Torture, detention, and killing. There might be two extremes at work here, but it's the very same repression. There's got to be something positive in Brazil. Didn't the people elect a government there that promised zero hunger? I have to see if they're keeping that promise.
A democracia hoje no Brasil, ela não existe porque existe um apartheid. A maioria negra desse país, que a maioria africana tem menos e vive em piores condições de renda.
Democracia no Brasil não existe, porque o povo preto não está no poder, então não tem democracia pra gente.
Is there democracy in Brazil, in this neighborhood?
Num bairro especificamente, não existe nenhuma democracia. Uma diferença, existe uma exclusão social. É uma utopia dizer que no Brasil todo mundo é igual, todo mundo tem os mesmos direitos. Aí a gente vai fazer algumas imagens.
Você acha que é uma boa ideia sair com câmera?
Eu acho, sinceramente, que
não. Não acredito na democracia. A única intervenção que a gente tem contato com o poder público é o poder policial entrando e aterrorizando.
Hoje em Salvador, em média, morrem 6 jovens negros de periferia exterminados pela polícia.
There is a physical line where Brazilian democracy stops. I can see it clearly, right where the pavement disappears. And if you're on the wrong side, you don't have anything. I'm not talking about voting. I'm talking about basic rights and infrastructure.
O que é que te deixa mais revoltado de você não poder ver?
The big problem for now.
Comida.
Existe democracia aqui?
And yes, people are still hungry. Venezuela. I hear that there has been a democratic revolution here. What does that mean? There's going to be a referendum to decide if Venezuela should become permanently socialist.
Te pongo porcentaje, aquí hay más del 80% de la población era pobre, más del 50% era pobreza extrema. El 2005, en octubre creo que fue del 2005, la UNESCO decretó a Venezuela libre de analfabetismo. La salud, la educación es gratuita. Hoy todos, absolutamente todos los ciudadanos tienen acceso a la salud. La mayoría de esas personas jamás en su vida habían visto un médico.
patria, socialismo o muerte, venceremos.
Como esta es una revolución atípica, no es la revolución bolchevique, no es la vietnamita, no es la china, no es la cubana, es la venezolana. Nosotros escogimos quizás el camino más largo, porque nosotros escogimos el camino pacífico y democrático. Venezuela jamás le va a imponer a nadie un solo criterio, pero tenemos todo el derecho moral de decirle al mundo, así lo estamos haciendo y está saliendo bien.
Hace unos 7 años era ignorante de lo que era la constitución de este pueblo.
El pueblo venezolano, unido a su presidente, le da un apoyo y un respaldo pleno a la reforma constitucional.
Porque es la libertad que todos queremos, la igualdad, la democracia y sobre todo el desarrollo del pueblo venezolano.
El pueblo está consciente, el pueblo está en la calle.
Somos jóvenes los que estamos ahorita conduciendo con nuestro máximo líder, que es Hugo Rafael Chávez Frías, un camino revolucionario, pacífico.
Y que los medios de comunicación fascistas que hoy en día imperan en el mundo no van a mentir más.
Todo este pueblo que tú ves aquí está totalmente comprometido con el proceso bolivariano.
Esto es una democracia, nosotros tenemos democracia. Lo que nunca hemos tenido hace 40 años atrás, lo tenemos ahora.
Por la victoria que tendremos el próximo domingo 2 de diciembre. Todos vamos en respaldo a la reforma constitucional.
La oposición no puede hablar en nombre del pueblo, porque ellos no son el pueblo está aquí hoy.
Hay un problema gravísimo, en mi opinión, que se pretende constitucionalizar el socialismo.
Anteriormente nosotros tuvimos que aceptar, como fuimos oposición, los modelos que estuvieron durante tantos años en Venezuela.
Y nuestra pregunta es, el día de mañana, quien tenga un partido que no se declare socialista, ¿cómo puede ser visto a la luz de la Constitución que se pueda o no aprobar?
Se está buscando un nuevo modelo que puede ser socialista, socialdemócrata o puede ser nacionalista, pero que realmente busquen el desarrollo de una sociedad y busquen el desarrollo de un modelo económico.
The day of the vote, opinions are clearly polarized.
Ese secreto ya. Yo no estoy autorizado a pasar por ahí. Para allá no.
Para allá no me puede pasar.
I can't even get a glimpse of the voting machine.
Pero lo que no puedo permitirte es que estés detrás de la máquina.
No puedes tomar las imágenes a las máquinas. No puedes tomarle imágenes a las cartagüeyas. Esas son las reglas.
Un indio que pretenda gobernar hasta el resto de sus días, del mismo modo como lo ha hecho Fidel Castro y del mismo modo como lo han hecho los dictadores, es decir, de los cuales podemos hacer un inventario de la perversión de la política en la humanidad, pues no puede sino concitar y suscitar el rechazo de los que creemos en la alternabilidad democrática.
La gran campaña internacional de los medios han creado una matriz de opinión donde se desconfigura de que el sistema venezolano no hay democracia, existe un dictador y todo eso es mentira, porque si hubiera un dictador habría preso político, no existe ningún preso político en Venezuela en 9 años.
He opinado mucho a través de los periódicos, he tenido columnas en los periódicos, me he opuesto, bueno, soy muy crítico, la crítica es necesaria en todo proceso dialéctico y eso ha ocurrido que me han puesto en algún tipo de lista. Creo que hay un clima de libertad de expresión en Venezuela, más allá de las amenazas del régimen.
Then the results come in.
Con los votos escrutados de 88%, casi 90%. El no 50,70% y el sí 49,29%.
This was one of the best run elections I have seen so far. And you know what? The no won. And that means it works. Russia is the biggest country in the world in terms of territory, and I want to test the transparency of Russian democracy.
You cannot shoot there.
So I leave the perfectly orchestrated media circus in Moscow, and I head to remote Siberia. The process of getting all the permits has been extremely difficult here too, and my accreditation is constantly checked.
Да, Викторовна, что должно быть как типа аккредитация или еще что-то такого?
Put any sign, either tick or cross, in the box to the right from the name of the candidate.
Will I be able to come and observe this process?
А вот эту процедуру можно увидеть, вот подсчет, как происходит подсчет, как открывается урна, как раскладываются бюллетени.
Да, согласно закону, значит, пресса допускается, значит,
According to the Russian legislation, the representatives of mass media are allowed to come and see this procedure, the procedure of counting, of opening that box and counting the ballots.
So that will be at 8 o'clock here?
То есть это в 8 часов будет происходить здесь, в этом помещении, подсчет.
Да.
Yes.
And I will come back then to this place to watch the counting.
И можно после 8 часов мы подойдем, чтобы посмотреть, как происходит процедура подсчета. Yes, you're welcome.
Спасибо.
What about outside the cities? How do they extend voting to the most remote parts of Siberia?
Here we are, Siberia. Voting station.
Удаленность у нас нет, у нас вот это село полностью отдаленность полностью.
A little suitcase is used to collect the last votes. It all looks very well organized, but I'm told that the swindle happens when nobody's looking.
That you should go to the headquarters, the territorial head committee, and ask for a permit to attend the procedure of counting votes.
We came here this morning, and when we talked to the head, who did you just talk to on the phone?
The chairman of the voting committee.
Who we met here.
Yes,
and he said, come back and
yes,
no problem.
come, you're welcome.
I am getting extremely frustrated. I have all the permits, but they still won't let us in.
Владимир Семенович, можно? Извините за...
Sorry for delay, but everything is okay now.
Что все сказал? Ага, все?
Higher ups instructing, I think instructing not to let you witness it.
У вас машина?
Да.
Красный проспект 18, пожалуйста, в областную комиссию. Вот распоряжение я получил.
А можно еще
Красный проспект 18.
Один вопрос, последний, мы оставим вас в покое. Наблюдатели здесь присутствуют от других партий?
Да, присутствуют.
От каких? То есть мы не можем присутствовать?
Нет. No. Так, пожалуйста, езжайте.
So all of them are sorry, but we can't.
Все, да. Так, все, пожалуйста, туда. Машина есть, езжайте.
They've got this democracy thing all sewn up.
Так, пожалуйста.
But transparency is very important if you want to run a legitimate vote. "27 countries have joined the European Union so far, and it's growing. You've got to be a democracy to join. Then you get to share in a lot of prosperity and peace. Literally 60 years without internal wars. Nobody in Europe would claim that the system is perfect, but there seems to be a basic agreement on how to maintain political and social stability."
Democracy is based on the assumption that you trust no one at all, not even your brother, your mother, your nobody. There is no trust on anyone, and you assume that there is a huge economic interest, whatever, personal interest, but it's the largest interest in the world to affect elections and influence elections, fraud elections, and so on. So it's based on that, period.
Because that's where the power and the money is. But what does this mean for the countries outside the EU that want in?
In 1998, 1997, we started to have first conflicts in Kosovo. European countries, and 19 of the biggest countries in the world, bombarded us for 70 days.
We now have changeable governments. It happens.
So first bombs, and then democracy?
Are you voting tomorrow? No, of course. No? No.
For who? It's all the same.
I would trust nobody, so I didn't find the right person to vote for them.
This sounds very familiar to me. I think this is an opinion shared by a lot of people, even within the EU.
Are you voting tomorrow? Yes, I always do.
Every time I vote against somebody. I don't vote for somebody. I don't vote for Tadic. I don't vote for Nikolic. I vote against.
Wait a minute. This too is a sentiment I've heard in most Western countries.
Everybody at this table except you is saying they won't even vote. They don't care. And that is democracy. If they don't want to vote, they don't have to vote.
A month after these elections, Kosovo declared independence, and Serbia did not go to war again. Turkey also wants in.
Is the basis for everything is the Turkey's EU accession.
Foreign body can be very influential in democratizing a country. And, like Turkey's EU history is a very good proof of that.
When you compare it to 10 years ago, in several areas for democracy and human rights, there's a positive tendency.
Extension of rights, any kind of human rights, we can say, the first pluses. We can see it very easily, and it is something very tangible.
The decline in the torture incidents in Turkey.
This democratization process in Turkey, if you look at it that way, Turkey is getting more stabilized.
The abolition of death penalty was another very important positive step.
Immediately affects the foreign investment in Turkey, which means that, more jobs and, more developments in the economic terms.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not totally sold on this marvelous European democracy thing. There's a lot of room for improvement, but there is no arguing with the positive side effects. And they can be felt even on the outskirts of the bloc. We're missing just one major player now. And you've got to love a place where the last president was appointed by the Supreme Court.
Like I said, the United States has to protect its own interests. And any time that we feel that our interests are threatened, we have to go in and do something about it.
But wait a minute. Isn't that the old America? The nation goes to the polls to elect a new president.
Nothing to it. It's a big country. It costs a lot of money to run for president. Typically, the person who has the most money ends up winning.
It excites me to see that so many people are getting involved, people who've never got involved before. We've gotten beyond that point of race. It's about who's the best person or who's the person, best man for the job.
One thing that defines the American election system is that it is incredibly complex.
Each state has a certain amount of electoral votes, and it's based on their population of that state.
It's an old-fashioned system that is there from, 200 years ago? It's
a formula of the states. It's a very strange.
It is just too, I don't even understand it, so.
The United States is an imperfect democracy, but there are many challenges to generating healthier democracy in the United States. But it's not so bad.
Nobody would have ever dreamt of these election results, even just a few years ago. But now it's left to be seen if a real, fundamental change will happen. Now we've seen our little sample of countries. Some have their own version of democracy, and some clearly don't. But what about between countries? And what about on the global scale? I keep thinking of that plate in that village in Borneo, and look how far from that we are. The people of the world have absolutely no say in how the world is run. A very few lucky ones can vote for somebody to represent their narrow interests. But most people have nothing. Who has the real power to decide? That's the heart of it.
You call yourself a human. Who are those people? People who think, who breathe, walk, and can shake hands.
A person that's born in the first world, her situation is totally different from the person who born in the third world.
Il y a des questions aujourd'hui globales et qui nécessairement et fondamentalement interpellent des réponses globales.
Our sense is that there's a huge democratic deficit in the world today, a huge gap between the world that we have and the world that most people everywhere want.
I think we can create something which has never existed.
The first world democratic revolution.
Direct democracy to at least decide on the biggest issues.
Exactly.
We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Democracies have been formed at the national level, even in the very recent history.
What do you think about an idea of a world democracy?
A world democracy? What do you mean by a world democracy?
Global democracy in which sense? A unified and standardized democracy.
Yes.
Worldwide.
Yes.
What do you mean about democracy? To destroy my culture?
What does that mean? Does that mean one person, one vote? Does it mean...
Sure, it does.
One person, one vote.
Equalize the world, equalize the voices.
I need just now. It's think.
It's an idea.
Do you like the idea?
Ah, good idea.
Un voto para todos los hombres y todas las mujeres del planeta. Do you think it's possible?
Yo creo que me uniría a ese criterio.
¿Qué te parece un voto mundial?
Incluyendo China, incluyendo África, incluyendo India, incluyendo los países árabes. Buena. Voto por ese voto.
A one world vote for what?
For what? One president for... No, a referendum.
This has never been done before.
A referendum is an instrument in Western democracy which is used by the public to propose a new law.
Social problems are related to democracy.
But we do have a kind of anarchy at the international level right now.
There is no global rule of law at present.
The first obstacle is that it is not possible. How do you do that?
What stands in the way of a real global democracy? I need to know specifically now.
The problem is that even the UN itself, supposedly representing all parts of the world, cannot come to terms with global administration.
The UN, they still having problems with the UN, okay?
Let's peel back the layers of the United Nations.
Is there democracy within the UN right now? Does the UN function on democratic principles, or how does it work?
No, we are working on democratic principles. The General Assembly is, as you know, is the main organ of the organization, the most representative, the most democratic, where every member state has the same right than the other big countries in the organization.
San Marino only have 28,000 inhabitants, and China has 1 billion. And they count as one.
The UN is the member states.
That's the building block.
It's a club of the nations of the world. That's all it is.
Or almost all of the failures and almost all of the virtues of the UN are the failures and virtues of the member states.
So each country has just one vote. It doesn't matter how many people live there.
The charter right now has a lot of potential, but it was written during World War II. And it reflected the balance of power in the world at that time.
It is not easy to develop a type of equality among member states.
The question is, was it ever meant to be democratic and representative, and it wasn't?
The General Assembly is the most representative organ of the organization, where each member state has their own right. There is no veto. Everybody has their own. There is no veto inside the General Assembly.
But the decisions of the General Assembly are not binding.
Are not binding, of course.
Not binding. That means nobody has to listen.
They say, for instance, that it should be based on how much your contribution plus the size of the country plus.
You talk about financial contribution.
Oh yeah, but that's just one of the proposals out there.
There are 5 nations that effectively control the United Nations, that have a veto over everything the United Nations does or doesn't do. And doesn't reflect the reality of the world today.
And the 5 of them, then there's the Security Council, which is the reason for all the insecurities in the world.
You have 5 members of the Security Council that have a bigger say than other members. So is that democratic? Probably not, no.
That's Russia, China, France, the UK, and America.
Parce que les Nations Unies ne reçoivent pas un mandat populaire.
People are looking for world parliaments, now beyond the United Nations.
I think we need to take it very seriously that a quarter of our world's population are under one government that has taken quite a firm line on how much freedom of expression and participation it's willing to allow.
That's right. We've got to look at this. We can't hold a world vote without the Chinese people.
Are you familiar with what a referendum is? A vote by all the people. So every man and every woman in the world have an equal vote.
You mean there will be established a world government?
A world
Not
vote.
government, just governance.
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 We're voting for the world issue. The whole, the 6 billion population voting. Voting for what?
They vote what?
Democracy is big democracy.
It's a democracy.
Globalism.
Maybe it's very difficult because there are huge people couldn't read and write.
这个世界财富的分配也是不平衡的。
The world maldistribution is not balanced.
特别是在全球化的影响下。
Especially under the globalization.
If concerned for the voting for redistribution income, I think China will have incentive to involve.
Maybe it's possible. If just a so simple question, peace, developing, and equality, maybe it could.
Surely, if it's possible for the world level, China should have desire to involve because we have such a huge population.
This is a good idea, but it's a direction. It's a direction of development.
There is change for the better in China, but I don't think you can operate inside China without the government giving at least tacit permission.
Who would want to stop this from happening?
At least for Western countries, they will try to solve for that. The poor have nothing to lose, you know.
I didn't expect such a positive reaction. Ideally, we can get as many people as possible to agree to a world vote. But I do know that there are some extreme opinions out there. I arranged to go to a safe house of the Basij, the religious paramilitaries of Iran.
What is your name, please?
Muhammad.
May I take any shots outside of here?
که نه اگر که خودت هم میخوای که دیگه از کار ما چیزی میدونی که میخوای از مکان ما فیلم بگیری.
He says, do you know where I am and what I am doing?
Should there be a new institution that actually creates a true global democracy?
He is agree with your program about the democracy for the world, and in the same time he says, me personally as a human being, I think this is the right of everybody. Personally, I agree with this. I think a very interesting program.
If there was to be a world vote,
yeah,
and all the people decided to do this, Iran, the people in Iran could take part in this?
He is telling you have first to give them the culture, education first of all, and give information second. Me, I am as a human being, what's my right? What I could be.
Thank you very much.
Wow, maybe it's not going to be so difficult after all to get everyone involved.
In this world, there's only one cake. And do you think the powerful country will sacrifice their case to the poor people?
People who have power don't want to give it up.
Well, the thing is this, you don't have to ask them to give it up, you just go.
When people talk about poverty, we talk about the bottom of consumption. But people never talk top. If there's so top is unlimited. So if the top is unlimited, the bottom is unlimited.
Democracy began. It began in Athens, in ancient Greece. And it worked then because it was a small community and all the people gathered on square.
You take that to a bigger level. That's when you start having problems.
Perhaps that's when we should go to a higher level of administration.
We live in multi-million people countries. We can't do the same. We cannot gather together all in one square.
Basically, it is almost possible again to create the village square electronically.
I think it's great, but I really don't see how that could be done.
Okay, I want to talk to the pros now.
Election Commission.
Election Commission. Yeah?
How do they hold elections in a country with more than 1 billion people?
Excuse me, the Election Commission?
Election last.
Thank you.
My name is Vinod Babbar. Okay. Yeah, I'm the Chief Electoral Officer, and I work under the Election Commission of India, and I'm supposed to be organizing the election in Gujarat state. We have about 36.6 million voters. We have the good machines, and they're manufactured by the Government of India companies, public sector undertakings.
So we have enough number of these machines to cater for a national election. Because one of the basic objectives of the National Commission was that we should have 100% electronic voting throughout the country in one go.
On a national level, does this voting all happen on the same day?
No, it doesn't. Because electronic voting machine is just one of the components in the entire electoral exercise. We have to have security arrangements. We need to have people covering the poll. We have to lot of another administrative arrangements, and security deployment being primarily one of them.
We have 40,000 booths. Now, if I have simply one police person at every polling booth, I need 40,000 police persons.
So generally, the national polls are held in a phased manner. The entire process is spread over a period of 2 months or so.
What do these gentlemen think of a world vote?
To have global democracy, every man and woman on the planet with an equal vote in the future. Do you think this is possible?
Most of the issues that we are facing are all global issues.
Global democracy? Yeah, certainly, why not? I think it will be welcome everywhere. I think people are left to make their own choices of their own free will. Certainly, yes. I think it will be a great push to the world peace, and everybody will be able to live in a greater harmony.
So you think it's feasible?
Yes, why not? It'll come in the years to come, yeah.
If and when you have a world vote, then certainly you could afford to have a vote, one world vote across the entire globe one day. Technically and in terms of logistics, that's I think certainly a possibility.
I'm feeling pretty good about these reactions until I get back out on the street again and realize that something within the Indian democracy is clearly not working.
These people have hope from every new politician that come here.
The promises they make, do they keep it?
Politicians are same all over the world, so even here they don't keep the promise.
That's just it. Empty promises. You can imagine how excited I was to stumble across a whole bus packed with election officials.
You are all involved in organizing elections?
Yes.
And we have people here from 15 countries.
Yes.
So how many people think that in the future we will have a world vote? Please raise your hand.
A world vote?
A world vote, a referendum for the whole planet.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Raise your hand.
Okay, so we have...
yeah, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
But before I...
about what? What do you think should be the questions that the people of the world will vote on?
International disarmament.
Worldwide democracy.
The protection of the environment. If it may be possible for voters or any citizen in the world to move everywhere.
Poverty reduction among the people worldwide.
Lasting peace despite different political ideologies.
If we have a world vote, we can use your national voting infrastructure to be part of this world vote?
Yes.
Yes, if we improve it, yes.
Yes?
Yes.
So we could actually use your national voting process and everything. Absolutely. Okay, very good. Well, I will take all your business cards later, okay?
No problem.
If we can work with these election commissions, it's going to make our lives so much easier. But maybe they're just empty words. I think I'd better find some additional options. I hear that a private company handled the elections for Oman.
We did the elections, we conducted the elections for Oman.
Come. We follow him.
There was no infrastructure?
Absolutely not.
Zero voting infrastructure.
How many people is the first time in their life that they're voting?
I don't know. I don't ask them, but half of them the first time.
Could you give me a rough idea of what the cost?
To the tune of $1 million to possibly $1.5 million, maybe somewhere there.
$2 per person.
You can say that, yeah.
And you did such a good job on this. Why don't we hire you to do the world vote?
Our area of operations are limited to Oman. I mean, we are an Omani company. Okay. But if the need arises, if we need to have something like this done in other parts of the world, yes, definitely. Yeah. We could take our experiences there.
Okay, I don't quite have that much cash yet, but I have your business cards too.
¿Es un tema utópico o es algo real que se quiere realizar?
The United States, this great marvelous place that we hear a lot about, where the African people like myself could actually vote. Only going back to 1963, we had the Voting Rights Act passed, and so now we can vote.
Everything starts as an utopia, and then, like you see that in 10 years, 20 years, or maybe, of course, sometimes takes much more time, but utopias become real.
No solamente otro mundo es posible, sino que otro mundo es necesario.
I'm telling you, I'm a living reality. This is something that can happen.
Let's get serious. Let's try the official path.
Now, you know how it works. Give me an idea. How could something like a global true democracy, how could you move this through? How could you get the UN involved? How could you...
I will tell you one thing. This organization is an organization run by political will.
To table a resolution. You just need one nation.
And that would just one, or do you want a whole coalition? What's your
Well, I think that would be much easier if you had a coalition.
Even suggest the negotiation of a treaty. But
a negotiation of a treaty within the UN.
Within the UN, simply for the purpose of holding global elections.
It's a long process, but that's what happened with the International Criminal Court.
It certainly would carry a lot of moral force if you manage to stage it successfully.
I could imagine a global referendum being the basis for a new United Nations Charter.
You think it's worthwhile trying to bring this kind of global democracy through the UN? Or should we might as well just organize a brand new thing?
I think that what we need is to reform the organization, to make more democratic.
Everybody knows that you can't touch the veto.
If you want to reform the Security Council, you need that the 5 permanent members ratify any kind of reform of the Security Council.
The permanent members have to approve any charter amendment. Why would they give up their veto?
Right, they will veto that.
They would veto that.
So if the question of a world vote deals with a real shift in the power structure, like making the United Nations truly democratic, the very same system would stop it in its tracks.
Don't tell me the story, oh wait, your time will come. No, my time is now.
People are fed up, and therefore they get together and act.
Il est temps d'actionner, quoi, tu vois, d'être actif, quoi.
Could be just a number of nations at the beginning, no? It could be 30 nations, it could be 50. They don't even need to be close to each other, no? It could be just an alliance, like G8, like G77.
I need to see now if we can build our very own organization to hold a world vote.
What we've decided to do, see if it is possible to hold the first world vote. It would obviously be crucial to have all of Nigeria involved.
Okay. So the person involved there, the chief executive, phoned me. Yes. That's when we said, Joel Marsden is coming with this project.
Modern technology has made it possible for the son of the rich man and the daughter of the poor widow to have equal votes. It has made it possible for somebody who is living in London and the person who lives in a village in the most remote part of Africa to have equal votes. And we are really very happy that Nigeria will be participating in such a noble project.
¿Se puede, por ejemplo, incorporar el sistema de votos de Guatemala en un voto mundial?
Por supuesto.
¿Cómo podemos usar ese sistema?
Tendría que planteársele al órgano rector, puesto que conforme a la ley es el encargado de organizar los procesos electorales. No dice cuáles procesos, sino los procesos electorales.
¿Podemos estar en contacto y ver si se puede prácticamente continuar este discurso sobre un voto mundial y el sistema aquí en Guatemala?
Con muchísimo gusto, estoy para servirles.
Here's another positive response, but then the reality in the streets hits me again.
¿Dónde se vota aquí?
En el centro.
¿En el centro?
Ajá, de la zona 1.
Aquí mismo no hay centro.
No, aquí no. Solo en el centro.
The voting process can be manipulated very easily.
Los mismos partidos políticos contratan camiones o buses para transportar mucha gente de poblados lejanos al poblado donde están las mesas electorales. Y me están llevando, bueno, pues voto por lo que ellos me dicen.
Algunos lo asocian con narcos y a otros lo asocian con asesinos militares y cosas recientes. No estamos hablando de lo que pasó en la guerra.
Viene en cadena, del presidente al gobernador, del al alcalde, a la policía, después al Ministerio Público.
Uno con la red narcotraficante, el otro que arrasa con asesinar a muchos pueblos indígenas con trayectoria de esa ideología, jamás es bueno.
Los presidentes solo ofrecen y dicen que van a dar y nunca dan nada, ¿va? Al ver ellos con dinero, pues ellos van a viajar y uno pobre siempre trabajando, ¿va?
That's what corruption looks like. And how do you protect a world vote from being contaminated by this?
Just look around and see all the ways democratic process get fucked up.
It can be controlled the way people vote. It can be controlled by not bringing the booths, and then but the boot boxes are filled up with votes, but you don't know who voted.
There is no guarantee that that will not happen at the global level.
Transparency is very important. Accuracy perhaps comes second.
The only way to have as much guarantee as possible against that is the democraticness of the process, period. So there's no other way whatsoever.
The cleanest way is if the people of the world control the actual voting process and you have 100% transparency.
Everyone out in the village who can't read or who lives in a jungle, these people are the most difficult ones to reach.
Challenge then is how to access them yourself. Right? Sand dunes and all and so on.
Let's just design our very own solution to include every last person on the planet. There's got to be a simple way to reach everybody, and it's got to be cheap, off-the-shelf technology and it's got to be open source.
And it's running Linux.
Yes, running Linux, yeah.
As a platform, we can use satellite communications. There are several existing systems in place that can connect every last person on the planet.
It came through. Awesome. Great. Yeah, good work, guys. Battery pack.
So here you have it, a satellite voting machine. Now, we just have to program it with a question.
In referenda, they say the power is to the person who phrases the question.
Should we abolish the armies?
Equal rights for women.
Un impuesto a las grandes fortunas del mundo para financiar la eliminación de la pobreza.
It's a difficult question.
Education, medicine, healthcare.
Miseria.
Poverty.
Poverty. Poverty.
Many problems.
Let there be provision of food.
Food, appropriate food. I say to the world, let's abolish the army system.
Vote to build a one world, not many worlds.
And we are all human beings.
Do you want to have a world democracy?
What is your choice? To destroy all the poor, to occupy their land, or to make them educated and to be equal?
We decide to program the voting machine with 3 questions regarding health, access, and safety. And we take it on a test run to a village in Senegal with 0 connectivity.
Test the machine. Machine bi nak da fay dimbalé doomu aadama yi ci aduna bi yépp.
We ask the chief of the village if we can conduct the test vote in his house.
Oui.
C'est ça.
C'est ça, mais
Merci beaucoup.
Merci. xam nga lii kay vraiment affaire ndimbal la waaw vraiment bu ñu ko mënoon am sax li teel sax mu tane sax.
This can help them to be heard by the world, and by the way, something will be done.
Babu leen jàppee yéen ñaar. ñu war a ñu télé.
Wolof ou français?
Français. Nous, population du monde, devons-nous garantir de l'eau potable, nourriture, hygiène et attention médicale basique à tous pour voter.
Yes. Real literacy also is a huge problem.
Oh. It's no longer abstract. The test questions, they are the daily needs here.
No problem to water, no problem to district.
They shouldn't drink water from this area because of bad things inside.
They have water, this is good. Certain water, no good. No electric, no good.
And they expect something to be done. Yes. Because they are human beings like everybody around the world.
Yes. Now, don't take the long.
The results are sent, and right away they are posted online for everyone to see.
It's working, man.
Yeah, it works good. You know, hey, more power to you guys. You know.
Several villages could come and vote on that one computer. So each computer can have hundreds or thousands of people voting from it. And then we have those volunteers with their computers positioned in enough places to get everyone.
Yo me atrevo a decir que es posible hacerlo en media generación, en 12 o 15 años.
So I think 10, 15 years.
Para que sea realidad, se tiene que trabajar de manera sistemática, programada, de común acuerdo.
The whole concept of winning has to be discarded. Winning over an enemy must be replaced by the idea of solving the problem.
We have to activate ourselves.
First, he talks to us. So let's say that the four of us agree that we want to do this. Then we talk to other people.
Between individuals, that alliances are created.
Let's come there for partnership. Let's come there for collaboration.
These individuals can work together.
The mobilization of people worldwide.
We're trying to connect at least one pilot voting station in every country and every territory on the planet.
Yeah.
What do you see as the biggest challenges that a test like this could have?
Well, the biggest challenge is mobilizing civil society movements to do it.
Okay, now, to conclude this viability study of a world vote, I want to see if we can register one symbolic voting station in every country to hold an electronic vote together.
How many do you think she sent? Give me an estimate.
I don't know.
How many thousand?
5?
We just got in touch with NGOs, universities, groups, individuals.
4, 3, 2, 1.
First voter.
First voter.
It's a rather small country,
It's very small.
We got Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Myanmar, Sudan, Somalia, China, East Timor, Haiti, Cuba, Israel, and Palestine, you know? And this is just us. A few people with laptops and a bunch of cool volunteers around the world. Can you imagine what is possible? I have seen firsthand now what it means not to have democracy. It's not just about voting. Stability, equality, access, these are not just words. They are needs.
Ini 1, 2, 3, 4, 15.
Agree with your idea that to join the world force, just like that. But he doesn't want to hear the promise, but the action.